In the prehistoric oceans and swamps, there once lived creatures so bizarre that ancient people would have surely called them monsters. A living submarine with a flat shell and a crocodile-like snout, Henodus. A giant predator, the ancestor of deep-sea killers, Thalattoarchon. Colossal lizard whales over 15 meters long, Shonisaurus. A lurking reptile with a long neck and dagger-like teeth, Nothosaurus. And finally, a strange long-necked beast that looks just like the dragons of legend, Tanystropheus. These 5 monsters vanished millions of years ago. But their fossils and stories reveal one truth. Myths often have roots in reality. Join me as we count down the top 5 mythical monsters that truly existed. And beware, sometimes reality is scarier than imagination. 5. Henodus, the submarine turtle. That wasn't a turtle. Picture a flat, armored raft surfacing in murky Triassic shallows. It's not a turtle. It's not a crocodile. It's something stranger, Henodus. A pint-sized paradox that looks like it was engineered in a shipyard and then set loose in a lagoon. Across cultures, hybrid river guardians appear again and again. Turtle dragons on temple roofs. Crocodile deities that own the tides. If a fisherman 230 million years ago had language, how would he describe Henodus? A turtle-croc chimera. A quiet sentinel with a shield for a back and a tapered snout like a riveted prow. It fits the old idea that waters are patrolled by beings that are neither fully gentle nor fully monstrous. Henodus is a placodon from the late Triassic Germany, primarily the Trussing and Tübingen region. Size? Roughly 1 meter long small, but armored like a plated skiff. The carapace is broad and very flat, more like a floating deck than a domed turtle shell. Its skull is narrow, flattened, with strange tooth plates instead of rows of pointed teeth. That's your first clue. This wasn't a slash and tear predator. Evidence points to filter feeding or scraping sifting algae, invertebrates, and organic bits in shallow water. Think mini submersible that cruises reed beds, not a high-speed hunter. Biomechanics. That flat shell trades streamlining for stability. In calm lagoons, Henodus could hover, pivot, and press its mouth close to the substrate. Some researchers propose it used horny pads and palatal plates to process food. Similar in logic, not in lineage to how some marine herbivores or filter feeders harvest biomass today. The limbs, broad, paddle-like, built more for sculling than sprinting. Roll camera. A dusk brown lagoon with rafts of floating vegetation. Something rises flat as a shield shedding water in sheets. Henodus barely breaks the surface. A heron-like reptile steps closer on the bank, then freezes. The raft has eyes. Beneath the waterline, Henodus sculls forward with quiet, deliberate arcs of its paddles, settling over a mat of algae. Its mouth presses down, silt billows, micro-life sluices inward, and the animal grinds it against palatal plates with a slow, patient rhythm. Henodus feels designed by committee. Turtle silhouette, crocodile snout, clam crusher mouth remixed into a filter. But that's evolution mapping a unique niche, shallow, plant-rich coasts in a world still experimenting with marine reptiles. It's a reminder that sea monsters weren't all fanged torpedoes. Some were quiet harvesters, strange, specialized, and incredibly successful until environments changed. What if a modern witness saw a broad, low plate rise at dusk in a mangrove channel? No dome, no neck, just a metal flat silhouette with a beak-like front. They'd reach for myth, not taxonomy. Many raft-like monsters in folklore might echo ancient forms like Henodus. Low, flat profiles that look artificial at first glance. And if Henodus didn't go extinct, imagine shallow, tea-colored backwaters today with living, breathing submarines grazing the weeds. Beat to next creature. Not every Triassic reptile was quiet. Some turned the seas into hunting grounds. Ready to meet the ambusher. 4. Nothosaurus, the long-necked ambusher. You're wading in warm, Triassic shallows. Something pale drifts below the glare, a needle-long head. A throat like a living spear. Before your brain resolves the shape, the water folds inward. Nothosaurus strikes. The oldest riverside warnings all say the same thing. Don't stand too long at the edge. Something waits below reeds and sandbars. Something that pulls you under. Nothosaurus is the prototype of the lurking river demon. Long neck, pointed jaws, needle teeth arranged for grip, not debate. Nothosaurus lived during the Middle-Late Triassic across what is now Europe and Asia. Adults span 2 to 7 meters depending on species, with elongated skulls packed with interdigitating teeth, perfect for seizing slippery prey. Limbs, semi-aquatic, webbed, paddle-like, but still capable of awkward movement on land. It probably hunted fish and small marine reptiles in near-shore ambushes, using burst speed from a coiling body and sinuous tail. Skull morphology shows slender rostra snouts with long, conical teeth. Bite mechanics aren't about crushing, they're about grabbing and not letting go. Think of it as a reptilian gar fused with a coelion's agility. Eyes sit forward enough for targeting and shimmering. Shallow water. This is an animal built for edges, the liminal zone between sea and land. Visibility and glare. Sunlight strobes through ripples. A school of fish flickers at the edge of a submerged rock. That rock lifts the long skull of a Nothosaurus, colors mottled like sand and algae. It hangs motionless, neck held like a poised harpoon. One fish veers too near. The strike is pure geometry. A snap, a twist, a spray of light. The body coils, tail lashes, and the predator is gone. Prize clamped in a grinning lattice of teeth. Nothosaurus weaponizes silence and patience. It's not the biggest, strongest, or fastest marine reptile, but in knee-deep water, it's the one you never see. Its hunting style translates perfectly to human fear. Shallow water ambush, sudden pull, vanishing wake. It's the jump scare of the Triassic. Trace fossils at ancient shorelines slides in silt. Faint belly tracks hint at a creature that owned the boundary. Folktales of long-snouted river dragons and needle-toothed lake spirits could be cultural echoes of such forms. If a Nothosaurus-like creature endured today in remote estuaries, most sightings would be head and neck only, a darting periscope, a V-wake, then nothing. How many unknowns are simply masters of staying between worlds? We've met the ambusher in the reeds. Now, meet the gentle giant that turned ancient oceans into cathedral aisles. 3. Shonisaurus, the gentle giant whale lizard. Imagine a pod of bodies the size of buses sliding through blue twilight. Backs catching sunbeams like passing zeppelins. They are not whales. They predate whales by over 2 million years. They are Shonisaurus, and the ocean is theirs. Every culture has tales of benevolent leviathans, world-bearers, tide shepherds, gods that breathe in the deep. Shonisaurus fits the archetype. Vast, slow, imperturbably. If you saw one, you wouldn't scream. You'd whisper. Shonisaurus is a giant ichthyosaur from the late Triassic, notably Nevada's Shoshone Mountains. Hence the name. Some species likely reached 15-20 meters, comparable to modern baleen whales. But the skulls lack the brutal crushing gear of apex predators. The body plan streamlined, torpedo-shaped, with powerful, crescent tail says distance swimmer, not ambush killer. Stomach contents and jaw architecture point to small prey fish, cephalopods, perhaps even filter-like feeding in some relatives as ichthyosaurs diversified. Mass strandings in the fossil record suggest social behavior or migratory routes that ended in catastrophic trap-shifting sands, anoxic shallows. The Nevada site preserves dozens of individuals across layers, a silent choir frozen in stone. Drop the camera beneath Triassic waves. Sun pillars reach down. Plankton drifts like dust in a cathedral. Then the walls move, Shonisaurus gliding in a line. Each fluke stroke slow, confident. A youngster tucks into the slipstream of a giant, far below. A shadow breaks off and spirals upward. 100 tons of muscle rolls just to eye you, one curious, ancient glance, and then turns back into the procession. Shonisaurus proves that gigantism in the sea didn't wait for whales. Ancient oceans already supported titans, the food webs, the migratory corridors. The oxygen regimes were sufficient to grow gentle giants. It also reframed sea monster, not always teeth and terror. Sometimes a moving continent of calm. Those mass graves, were they family pods, seasonal gatherings, or repeated accidents along a migratory highway? Did they communicate with body language? With flashes of white flank? With synchronized rolls? If a Shonisaurus analog lived today, would we recognize its songs not as sound, but as movement? Perhaps the oldest myths of sea guardians are memories of great migrants whose size alone felt like divinity. From the gentle to the ruthless, the Triassic also forged something new, a true marine superpredator. 2. Thalattoarchon, the first tyrant of the open sea, before Mosasaurs, before the great Pliosaurs. The throne was taken by something lean, fast, and hungry enough to eat other marine reptiles. Meet Thalattoarchon, the ruler of the sea. Legends speak of rulers who claimed the ocean with iron rules and sharper swords. Thalattoarchon is the myth made flesh, an ichthyosaur that didn't just pick off fish, it hunted its own kind. If Nothosaurus is the river demon, Thalattoarchon is the ocean warlord. From the Middle Triassic 244 million years ago, Thalattoarchon shows up in what's now Nevada. Length, estimates around 8-9 meters, but size isn't its defining trait. Teeth are large, deep-rooted, laterally compressed cutting teeth, capable of shearing through flesh and bone. That's exceptional among early ichthyosaurs, most of which had conical teeth for fish. This animal signals a trophic revolution. Marine reptiles rising to apex predator status shortly after the end Permian mass extinction. Its body plan, streamlined with a powerful tail, implies pursuit, not ambush. It could range far, patrolling productive seas, testing every niche newly carved by evolution's restart. Open blue, a smaller ichthyosaur flees, body flickering silver. The water ahead darkens. Thalattoarchon cuts across like a sharpened crescent. At the last instant, it torques sideways, jaws scissoring, an arc of bubbles. A red thread unwinds, and the hunter rolls, claiming its prize with a raking twist of the neck. Silence returns, but the hierarchy is rewritten, because it changes the rules. A predator that preys on other top swimmers sets a new ceiling for fear. It suggests social pressure, arms races, smarter prey, faster bodies, thicker armor, everything escalates. You're watching the ocean invent apex predation all over again, millions of years before mosasaurs and pliosaurs perfected the recipe. Thalattoarchon appears not long after the greatest die-off in Earth history. Was its rise a function of empty thrones, or did it represent a hidden lineage that weathered the catastrophe and surged when the seas refilled with life? If a Thalattoarchon-like hunter prowled today, our safe open ocean might feel very different pods of modern giants forced into tight formations. Prey schools scattering at the silhouette of a single scythe-shaped bat. Beat to final creature. We've met the ruler and the giant. But the most myth-like of all may be the strangest. A miniature dragon with a neck that defies proportion. One Tanystropheus, the 6-meter neck that launched 1,000 myths. A calm lagoon, a ripple. Then a neck rises so long it seems to separate from its body, ending in a tiny, toothy head that hovers over the surface like a living question mark. This is Tanystropheus, and yes,
on land,
the neck alone
it moves
can reach
clumsily,
6 meters.
but
East
once
Asian
in
dragons,
water, it
serpents
becomes
of the
a
Nile,
perfect
the Loch
predator.
Ness profile, long neck, small head, body unseen. Tanystropheus feels like the archetype behind them all. It's not huge, it's implausible. The neck is so ridiculously elongated, composed of extremely long cervical vertebrae, that it looks like a magic trick. If any fossil whispers dragon, it's this. Tanystropheus lived during the Middle-Late Triassic around the Tethys margins, modern Europe and the Middle East. Two probable sizes existed based on recent research separating species. A smaller, fish-eating form and a larger form approaching 6 meters total length, with a neck that was half to 2/3 of that. The neck vertebrae are stiff, elongated rods not flexible like a swan's. That suggests the neck functioned as a reach-and-strike boom, not a whip. Lifestyle debates raged. Fully aquatic, semi-aquatic ambusher. Current evidence points to a shoreline predator that kept its heavy body anchored while the neck snaked out over water to snap fish and cephalopods. Its jaws carry conical teeth suited to slippery prey, eyes forward enough to aim. Limbs suggest it could move on land awkwardly, but water was its hunting stage. You're a fish near the surface, curious about the bright world above. Shadows pass, reeds, insects, a drifting branch, then the branch opens a mouth, the head drops, a flash of teeth, and you're gone. Pull back and you finally see it. The body of Tanystropheus lies along the bank, stable like a tripod. The neck is the moving part, a precision crane extending into the water, retracting with prey, setting it down to swallow. Because it breaks the rules of proportion. Most animals spread length across body, tail, limb. Tanystropheus stacks it into one impossible column. To a human observer, ancient or modern, glimpsing a long neck cutting the water with no body evident would scream serpent, dragon, lake monster. It's the perfect engine for misinterpretation. How did it breathe while extending so far? Likely by keeping lungs and heart in the body while the neck worked like a passive boom. No need to bend much. Just aim and drop. Did it hold the head just under the glare, waiting for silhouettes like a crocodile's nostrils do today? If a Tanystropheus analog existed now in remote karst lakes, most sightings would be exactly the type that fuel folklore. One long, dark periscope, then a clean, silent vanish. From the flat submarine of Henodus to the reed-edge ambusher, Nothosaurus. From the cathedral quiet of Shonisaurus to the tyrant blade of Thalattoarchon. And finally, the impossible geometry of Tanystropheus. These aren't just fossils. They're story engines. Myths don't come from nowhere. They condense out of patterns we keep seeing in the world. Which one would haunt you most if it still swam today? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you want more myth versus science deep dives like this, hit like, share, and subscribe so we can keep digging the legends out of stone.
On land, it moves clumsily, but once